What is going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Caught Stealing the Fantasy Alarm Fantasy Baseball Podcast. I'm Howard Bender. With me, of course, is Colby Conway. And whether you're watching us on YouTube, if you are, hit that like and subscribe button, or you're listening wherever you get your podcasts. We appreciate you guys tuning in. As we were just getting ready to start things up, Colby reminded me we're just two dudes having a bad season right now. And I gotta tell you, Colby, it's downright abusive right now. What kind of a season I might be having? First and foremost, hi, how are you, man?
I'm doing well. Like you said, just a couple of guys helping out other people with their teams. We haven't gotten it right ourselves this year, at least with kind of some of the guys that we drafted with some injuries. But it's funny. We'll talk about a couple of these guys later. But if I remember correctly from when I was looking at it this morning, there are 3 players who have at least 5 home runs, 10 stolen bases, and a sub 200 batting average. And I think I've managed to acquire all 3 as some of my guys for the season. So I don't know if that's good or not. The home runs are fine. The stolen bases is nice, but that sub 200 batting average is killing me.
Yeah, I got to be honest. Like, I don't really, when I'm going up against like the guys in Tout Wars, the guys in NL Labor, right? I mean, it's tough competition, stuff like that. And I always want to fare well. I feel like, with all the relegation that they do with the FSGA and stuff like that, like it's a league. I've won it before. I want to win it again, right? I want my name, carved out on that trophy one more time. But I don't even understand what's going on with this team. I gotta just lay this out for you. This team right here, right now, struggling massively in strikeouts, no power. Like zero power, like in comparison to any other team. But listen to this. Here's the roster. Adley Rutschman. I just got back Tyler Stevenson. Rhys Hoskins. Matt McLain. Gunnar Henderson. Mark Vientos. Dansby Swanson. Cronenworth. Michael Harris. Stephen Kwan. Ceddanne Rafaela. Julio Rodriguez, and then like that last spot is like Gabriel Arias or Miguel Andujar or Nathaniel Lowe. Cam Smith didn't really pan out what he was supposed to do, but you know what? Gunnar, Vientos, Michael Harris, Julio Rodriguez. I don't even know what the hell's going on. Like, I mean, I'm fine on speed, and that's great, and I can try and I can't even trade in this league. Well, that's another thing that I absolutely hate. I can't trade in this league at all. So how the hell am I supposed to make my team better with the crap that's sitting on the waiver wire in a 14-team league? Like, now all of a sudden, now I'm like deathly afraid that I'm going to end up getting relegated, and we're like, not even a month and a half into the season.
I guess the saving grace is maybe some of these guys can turn it around a little bit, but you think about it on May 13th, if someone were to tell you, hey, I'm not going to tell you the batting average, but by May 13th, Matt McLain's going to give you 5 home runs and 10 stolen bases, you'd be like, man, with my team, him panning out and quote unquote kind of breaking out or having that excellent year that we all thought of, you would probably be feeling really good about yourself. But then, we start sprinkling in McLain's 165 average, Michael Harris's slow start, Julio Rodriguez's slow start. And what's interesting with Julio too is I don't even want to use the word half, but the first couple of weeks of the season, it wasn't just Julio. It was the entire Seattle offense couldn't hit.
Sure.
But you look at the numbers of late, that Seattle offense is coming around a little bit, and Julio, we haven't gotten that first or late first, early second round kind of value that we've been hoping for him yet. So hopefully it's just a long season. You can turn it around, but especially with no trades, you're going to have to hit on the waiver wire guys. And honestly, what's going to be really tough is it's not just getting the guys right, but it's basically getting off at the right time for the next hot guy too, as to not hurt your team. So with no trades, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough.
And see, and that, I guess that's probably, where we should kind of take this, is that really of like, how do you attack this? Do you attack it? It's a roto league. Do you attack it category by category? Do you try and focus so much on that? My pitching, by the way, I've lost Garrett Cole for the year. I've lost Shane McClanahan. What's his face? Who else is on? Oh, Hunter Green, I just lost. Sandy Alcantara's a piece of crap. So I mean, it's been a tough battle with the with keeping up with everything. But whatever. Like, I mean, I can fix a pitching staff a lot easier, right? Like, I'll sacrifice strikeouts in order to boost whip and ERA, right? And I only have to do that for a little while. If I'm, and I look at like where I am with strikeouts and where I am with the regard to the next person, and there's like an 18 strikeout difference. So the question is do I just say screw it and just go with the relievers and kind of build up the whip and the ERA as fast as I can, and work it that way? But more importantly, like, what are you doing if you're looking at it and you're like, okay, I can't trade. I'm fine on run score. It's not great, right? I mean, let me just hit my standings here and see where I am in relation to everybody. So batting average sucks. I'm near the bottom. Home runs, I'm second to last. RBI, I'm second to last. But I mean, are the people in front of me reachable? Yeah, if I get a power specialist to do that. Stolen bases, I'm nice and competitive in there, but if the question is do I sacrifice some stolen bases and could I lose? The people who are behind me, 7 stolen bases separate me from somebody else by 5 points. 7 stolen bases. So it's like, which way do I go? Do I try and beef up more speed to get into that top rung and get my points that way and then trade speed for power? But I don't know. Like, when you're in this situation, which you are in this situation, and let's forget keeper leagues or anything like that, redraft league, we got time to work here. What's your direction?
Yeah, I think if we look at your situation, the last thing I would want to do is take away points that I have earned or that you have earned in speed to maybe move up in other spots and maybe not catch. So I would almost keep that strength. I think ultimately what it's going to come down to is you're almost going to have, depending on how deep the team is, maybe 2, let's say, basically 2 lineup spots or 2 spots on your team that are a revolving door. It's like that Homer Simpson gif where he walks in the bar, drops the hat, walks out, walks in, walks out. That's basically going to be your team. And you're basically going to have 2 spots where you ride the hot hand, hope for 2 weeks of production. And then once the numbers start coming down or there's the new girl next door, drop that, go for the new shiny thing. And you basically just try to say, hey, at the very least, I'm going to have 1 or 2 spots dedicated to the flavor of the week. Whoever James Grande lists first in his waiver wire article, that's who I'm picking up. And that's what you're doing just to try to at least get some production to, at the very least, offset kind of the gaps that you have now with some of your stars not producing. Like, once you have a fully producing Julio Rodriguez, and a couple of other guys are like back, like Michael Harris, Julio, and all those guys, maybe you can drop it down to 1 spot that you kind of shuffle out for the new kid in town. But ultimately, I think that's what you're going to try to do and just try to get some production across the board. Hopefully with those 2 spots, and then hope that really the thing that will save your team is no player that you're going to pick up. It's going to be your stars bouncing back and getting to that elite production that you were expecting. That's really what's going to make your team moving forward.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you on that front there, is that these guys some of them will turn it around. Are they going to give me the seasons that they were supposed to give me? No. But at this point in time right now, I'm not playing for first anymore. I'm playing for like 10th. I just don't want to get relegated. Like, bad seasons happen and you deal with that. But yeah, I need to scratch and claw so that I can get past, some of these other bottom feeders. And I guess what the hope is also is that at some point, like, are these bottom feeders going to be like, oh, damn, I don't want to get relegated? Or are they just going to be like, it's fantasy football season, let's turn our attention?
I mean, we see that happen a lot. People all, January, once the superb owl ends in February, that big game that happens every single year, people turn the attention to baseball. We're back on BABIPs and XFIPs and XERAs and all these funny metrics. And then once like the draft and the NFL schedule release hits, I got to start worrying about who my RB3 is going to be on this team. And people kind of fall by the wayside when it comes to fantasy baseball. So not that you're rooting for that, not that it maybe will happen or maybe it won't happen. But yeah, I mean, that's a very possibility that, fantasy football kind of takes over and, maybe people aren't paying as much attention to last, which is one thing that we always stress. Like, I can't say it enough in Discord. It's like, hey, you've worked too hard and too long to give up on this team come July. You've
Right.
worked too hard. Like, this is months into this. This isn't fantasy football where you can, in theory, get by checking your team 3 days a week. Once on waivers, once before Sunday Night Football, once before Monday Night Football. You can get away with that. Fantasy baseball is not like that. Even in your weekly lineup leagues where you set it, you still check it more than 3 times a week.
Want to just give a quick shout out to Matt Sells and James Grande, who are in third place in this FSGA league. They got promoted. They won last year, and they got promoted into this. They were down there near the bottom with me for like the first, 3.5 weeks, 4 weeks of the season. They were like, they looked like they were taking their lumps too, and it wasn't boding well for Fantasy Alarm at all. And over the last 2 weeks, I mean, these guys, their team has just gone otherworldly. I mean, Bobby Witt is a stud, obviously. Austin Riley's been solid. Geraldo Perdomo, wow, man. I mean, I guess that's probably like the best way that we can kind of segue this. He's got Byron Buxton, Kerry Carpenter. They just got back Jackson Merrill. They've got Brent Rooker. Trent Grisham has been on some weird tear right now. So offensively, they're surging there. Will the bottom fall out on some of these players? Yeah, probably, but I can't argue with what they're doing right now. So I just want to give them a quick shout out. But Perdomo, I think, kind of segues into some good MLB news that we can kind of work in on here, especially with prospects. Jordan Lawler called up by the Arizona Diamondbacks. Colby and I are recording here on a Tuesday evening, and I believe Lawler is in the starting lineup tonight for the Diamondbacks. So we're wishing him nothing but the best there. But the question that I have still is, who ends up the odd man out? Because, I mean, unless you're planning on just rotating, like doing a steady rotation of players where Perdomo, Eugenio Suarez, Pavin Smith, and Geraldo Perdomo, like those 4 guys, that they all just like, they're each going to get like 2 days off a week as everything kind of rotates in. I don't know. I mean, what do you think?
Well, some days it's going to be Lawler. They've already said he's not going to play every day. I think I said it was like 4 to 5 times a week they're trying to get him. So he's going to sit at least once or twice a week. And when you look at it tonight, he's playing shortstop, but Perdomo started, trying to do like a quick count here, like pretty much all but 1 game prior to that at shortstop. So like, it's not something where this is not making the switch to Perdomo. They can't take him out of the lineup. So Lawler's going to play a couple of different spots. When we looked at him at the minors, we talked about that they got him some action at third base. And in fact, in the minors, as I'm looking here on Fangraphs, he's only ever played short and third. So maybe he does get some time at second base, because that would probably be the most, not even with Ketel Marte back. Prior to Marte, it would have made sense to put him there. But ultimately, I think his time is going to come between short and third. I would think Suarez probably has the shorter leash right now than Perdomo. But there's going to be some days each week that Lawler is the odd man out. So if you're spending fab on him, or you're looking at like weekly leagues, you just have to keep that in mind. Like at this point, as of May 13th that we're recording, and whatever day it might be that you're listening to, Lawler's going to be close to an everyday player, but he is not going to play every day. That is the main thing to note with this. And really, I think the decision would be almost easier for Arizona if Perdomo didn't have such a good start to year that he's had, or if Suarez was doing exactly what he was doing, but cut his home run total in half. It would be a much different story. But Lawler's time is going to come at short or third. That's where it's going to come from. And right now, Perdomo's given Arizona no reason to take him out from short regularly. So I'm not expecting anything more from Lawler than 4 to 5 games a week.
Yeah, I agree with you on that front there. I think he's going to end up playing predominantly. I mean, obviously he can also move over to the Keystone, right? I mean, but it's Ketel Marte who's over there, so they're not likely to rest him. I think the best path for work for him for at-bats comes through Suarez, because even like everything that the Diamondbacks are getting from Perdomo now offensively is gravy. He's there because of his glove. He is a very slick fielding gold glove type shortstop who they never expected him to be, hitting as well as he's been hitting right now. So that's just gravy right there. But it's Suarez who goes through those spells of where he's like 0 for 18. At some point he's going to go back to hitting 205 for a little while. And that's kind of where Lawler, if he steps in there and just continues to perform, then maybe that's, it softens the rotation a little bit, because you don't want him DHing, right? I mean, you don't need that. Leave that for like Naylor and Pavin Smith. Smith is enough of a veteran that he can handle the DHing. You're bringing up a strong shortstop. If you're going to move him to third, fine, you're going to move him to third. If you're going to give him some time at second, okay, but don't put him, don't park him there. It's just, guys just work completely differently on that front. So, big shout out to him though. Who was it? Is it DeMarco? Was it DeMarco? Was it MRM? Who is it? Who is it in our Discord that was probably like yelling at me about whether or not to pick up Lawler? Was it El Faro? Maybe him. But they were like, I want to stash him. I want to stash him. I want to stash him. I'm like, I don't know what his path to playing time is. And now finally the Diamondbacks end up bringing him up. So
yeah,
complicated situation.
I guess technically, I didn't even think about this, but I guess the DH route could be open. Pavin Smith handles it against righties, and really it's been Randall Grichuk against lefties. So maybe they pull the plug on Grichuk and say, hey, against lefties, Lawler's going to DH. But then even so, that puts him at a small slide platoon and at the DH spot against lefties. And then against righties, why would they take out Perdomo or Ketel Marte? Like, unless they want to try to get Marte some extra rest here and there, I don't. It's gonna be really interesting. Like, I'm very curious. I think they did say they want to get Lawler 4 to 5 games a week. I'm very interested to see how they get there. Like, what is going to happen? Is Perdomo going to get more time off, considering he's been the Iron Man in that lineup for most of the season? Or is it Ketel Marte? Do they put Lawler at second to move Marte to DH sometimes against right-handed pitching? Like, they're going to have to get pretty creative. It's going to be interesting, but there is going to be some days that Lawler's the odd man out.
Why don't you just put Marte out in center field? I mean, are we that in love with Alec Thomas or Jake McCarthy?
Yeah, I mean,
right. I see the wheels turning. Marte played in the outfield before. He's played center field.
Yeah, maybe his durability, that they want to try to preserve that. It's more important to have him in the lineup, but you know what? Yeah. Why not experiment with Lawler too, with some outfield time, like in the minors? Like, you're going to call him up, at least let him out there and just at least see. I mean, he's got to be generally athletic. He's a shortstop, so there's going to be some athleticism there. We've seen others do it, and maybe it preserves Marte a little bit. But yeah, I mean, they still have Tim. It should be Tawa, but I know it's Ta'a. They still have Ta'a that they play every now and again there, so like they could just send him down and just let Lawler kind of be that utility guy there, or just cut the cord with Randall Grichuk. I mean, at this point, who cares?
Randall Grichuk's mom listens to this podcast, and now she's like super upset with you.
Well, he only has one more home run than we all do, so that's cool.
Oh, there you go. Well, my power's been sapped since the old shoulder injury. I tore my labrum, and ever since then, it's been tough. Lack of mobility.
Yeah, the lefty specialist with a 213 average and 25.5% strikeout rate against lefties, but just just do what you're good at, my friend.
So another rookie here making his debut, actually. Tonight. Curious as to your thought, because I know how much you love catchers. Right? Moises Ballesteros from the Chicago Cubs called up today. Now he's just DHing, but he does qualify as a catcher. He jumps into the fray here while Ian Happ sits on the IL. If you're, to me, there's a clear path here of not resting him, but I mean, it's a young kid. You look at him over a guy like Lawler if you're worried that Lawler doesn't actually get the 4 games a week that they're talking about.
Yeah, at least for the foreseeable future here, there's a clear path, and you want to talk about some lineup gymnastics. The Cubs already have other catchers. They have 2 other catchers. So, this kid might not really see many at-bats behind the dish because they have Carson Kelly, they have Miguel Amaya there that they'll shuffle those 2 behind the dish. But with no Ian Happ, Seiya Suzuki is going to go to the outfield. They can use him at DH because all the other options, like I know they have the speed king John Birdie, but you want you want the young kids' power in there. And obviously we'd like to see a little bit more fly balls than ground balls, but at least for the next at least 10 to 14 days, he's going to play darn near every day. And if he hits, they'll find a way to keep him in there. And if he can trade some ground balls for fly balls at Wrigley Field, this could be an answer to a lot of people's power problems. This guy got called up 1 week too late. He could have been featured. He could have been the cover boy of the podcast episode last week. But he had to get called up this week. But there's a path here. It'll be interesting when Hap comes back, what kind of happens, because you're going to have those 4 outfielders that you basically have for 3 spots. And I did see a video earlier on X. I'll pull it up again to try to find it to credit the proper person. But guess who was taking some third base reps pregame, just fielding a little bit?
Was it Ballesteros?
No,
who?
Michael Bush.
Well, I mean, he's played third base a little bit.
But the Matt Shaw lovers might be a little sad to hear that. But think about it this way. If Bush can play a competent third base, where do a lot of catchers also end up moving if they can't play there defensively? There could be the path.
But Colby, Justin Turner's there.
Yeah.
Listen, I like that. I like that thought process because it's kind of funny. John Birdie seems to be a very polarizing person right now. There's so many Cubs fans out there who absolutely hate him and hate the fact that he is like playing third base for them right now. And then there are some who like just show you videos of him stealing bases and just being disruptive in that fashion. Right? They either love him or they absolutely hate him. Maybe it's like the Matt Shaw grassroots campaign that's hating on him. But listen, I mean, if Michael Bush were to move to third and that would put Ballesteros at first and he is a power option, that would certainly be a huge boost to any team, especially because you're putting him in as a catcher. You're locking him in there. It's where he qualifies.
It's not far-fetched to think because you look at the minors. He did play a handful of games, not many, but a handful of games at first base both this year and last year and the year before. So it's not exactly foreign. So something to keep an eye on there. And at this point, Cubs should just say, screw it. Let Bush play third. If your defense sucks, it is what it is. Just get the mashers in there. And those days where that wind is blowing out, over, baby, over.
Oh, I can't wait. No doubt about it. All right, before we start lamenting over the injuries and start crying into our beers here, it's not fantasy related, but I thought it was kind of big news around MLB. Shoeless Joe Jackson, Pete Rose, and a host of other, Black Sox from the 1919 Fixing the World Series. That whole crew, apparently now they are off the permanently banned list for MLB, which means that, Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe Jackson can actually be nominated for the Hall of Fame and eligible for that. I don't know. I don't know how you feel about it. For me personally, I think it's long overdue in a lot of ways. I mean, I'm more in line with that. It's more like I'd rather see Pete Rose than Shoeless Joe Jackson. Because, I mean, Pete bet on the Phillies. He never bet against the Phillies to lose. He never bet against his team to lose. And whatever. It's still wrong to do that. But, Joe Jackson and the rest of the guys, they actually took money to lose games. So I guess I'm less inclined. It was a great movie, 8 Men Out. It was a lot of fun to watch. I'm really big fan. But for me, Charlie Hustle, there's a guy who just deserves it. And I'm only sorry that he's already passed away to have this happen.
What is the word when it happens? It's like posthumously. Yeah. So that's a good word right there. But I know Pete Rose was before my time. I know he was, obviously you got to see him play, and Shoeless Joe was well before my time and only a little bit before yours. But it's hard.
A little bit. Bam.
I think it's one of those things where when you hear about Pete Rose, like obviously like didn't bet on didn't bet, I believe it was the games that he was in, or he always bet on them to win. Correct? That's what you had said.
That's what I believe was the case. I haven't seen firsthand betting slips, and maybe I might be talking out of my ass a little bit here, but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I mean, obviously it's apples to oranges in terms of the two situations, both obviously where you could say gambling or gambling adjacent, and financials were involved. But yeah, it seems like it's I think Pete Rose, I believe I also saw, isn't he's getting honored, I think tomorrow with the Reds or something like that. So maybe it's just an interesting time that this is happening for him. I'll see if I can find information on that. But yeah, Pete Rose night at Great American Ballpark to honor the Hit King during Wednesday's game. So maybe it's interesting that it's happening
Oh,
now, right before this. But I think I'd agree with you in terms of, shame that it happened now. But I guess better late than never, I guess, is the way of looking at it.
wow. The Reds doing a Pete Rose night even before the ban lifted. That's interesting.
Unless they knew all along. I mean, there's already speculation across multiple different sports of, timing and everything like that. Of
Oh,
like a
dude, the
potential,
fix is in all over the place.
like the
What?
NBA with the
Can we
lottery.
sidebar on the NBA for a quick second here? I was trying to explain this, and you know what? I want to shout it out to Jeff Mans for his rant on the Elite Sports Show on Sirius XM beforehand, because he pointed out, if you look at the last 30 years, 11 times a team that was, a high, a big market team, a team that needed to be like the rebound, the team that was, the up and coming. There was a player who was just going to change the culture of a particular team. 11 times in 30 years, a team that met that criteria and had less than 2% chance to win the first pick. Got it. 11 times out of 30 for a team with like a 1 to 2% chance of earning that first pick. You can't tell me. And listen, I'm a Knicks fan. I remember when the frozen envelope happened and when we got Patrick Ewing. It's been scamming. They've been scamming us, for years on that. It kills me. Jim Bowden says there's no conspiracy whatsoever, but I think that just smells a little Laker-ish because his team got Doncic.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy when you get one of the best players in the league, midseason to help the run. So yeah, I think
For nothing.
Well, then I mean, hey, we do it in the NFL, like when the Texans traded Watson to Cleveland 3 years later. We're looking to see what the haul was and comparing the deal. Like we have to take the full scope of the deal in. Did the Mavs know they were getting that first overall pick? If so, it was Anthony Davis and or Luka Doncic or Anthony Davis and Luka Doncic, whatever it ended up being, however they got that. But then you got to throw the first overall pick back on their side. Like that makes the deal look a little bit different. It's basically like, hey, trade Luka, but get back Anthony Davis, Cooper Flag, the two other bums that they got in the deal. Like you just gotta look at the whole picture.
You're rebuilding you're looking at it and you're saying that here's a team, they made the trade for whatever reasons they made the trade. Whether it was to save money or whatnot, that you knew that they were rebuilding, but considering how big of a market Dallas is, because I think it's like the fourth or fifth biggest media market in the NBA. And I think that, the fix was definitely in on that, but that's a little basketball. I'm sorry for digressing there. And then Colby brought up football, and now all of a sudden I want to talk about Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel, right? I just want to, I won't do that. I won't subject everybody to Houston Texans talk or any other sports talk. Let's get back.
Let me throw it in there. Let me just throw it. I have not. I'll keep it short. I'll keep it sweet. I have not said this before, but this could be Houston's year. Just saying.
Oh my goodness. Between you and Jim Bowden with the Dallas Cowboys winning it all, I can't believe we're not even just. We're not gonna just give the championships to both Houston and Dallas, and we'll just call it a big tie.
Well, if we're gonna hand out championships, I did see for the eventual sometime in the future World Series champion Pittsburgh Pirates that David Bednar had a rough outing the other night, but it's okay. It's okay.
Worse, David Bednar's outing or what you saw out of Robert Suarez the other night for San Diego. Did you see that ending to the Angels Padres game?
I saw the win probability flip in terms of everything that happened there, but I'll one up you, but I'll let you go on.
It was no outs, nobody on. He gets the first out. Boom. Gets the second out. Walks a guy. Hit, loads the bases. And then it just completely spiraled out of control from there.
That ruined the win for Michael King. I needed those points. It crushed me.
I needed those as well. Listen, but again, oh geez, I wonder why I got the worst ERA in the league when my closer's giving up 5 earned runs in 2/3 of an inning. Oh my
Well, then, I mean, yeah,
goodness.
then you have Tanner Houck, who somehow managed to allow 11 earned runs for the second time this year. Just as I pumped him up in the pitcher's grid, I still put him in the orange column. So start at your own risk. There are some issues with it there. I was like, winds are blowing in, but it's a tough matchup, but he's been better of late. Just boom, 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 boom. 11 earned runs. Second time this year he's managed to do that.
It's brutal. And when you hang a guy out like that too, I mean, what does that just do to his brain? I mean, it just kills me.
That was such a Colorado thing for Boston to do. Just leave him out there to get bludgeoned for
Right.
2 1/3 inning. Such a Colorado thing.
Such a bad move. Such a bad move. Best thing that happened to me this year so far, Alexis Diaz sent down to the minors. That guy came in, destroyed my ratios for like 3 days, and then is gone. Horrendous.
Well, I mean, hey, maybe he comes back up. I mean, remember, once David Bednar got called up from the minors, he's got a 1.69 ERA over his last 10.2 innings pitched. Maybe that's all he needed. That's what the doctor ordered. Little trip to AAA.
Had Bednar do the other day?
I think so. Some injuries across the league. Obviously, Hunter Groin
Hunter
Groin with the groin injury. Yep.
Hunter Groin hurt his green.
Yep. Hunter Green with the groin. This one, actually, we'll talk about this one first because I'll be interested to see what you think about this here. But I do not like what I'm hearing about Blake Snell.
Yeah.
I'm going there first. I know there's some other names here. We'll talk about that. But
no, I thought you were going to go to Hunter Green first. But I'm happy to go to Blake Snell because I don't like what I'm hearing about Hunter Green either.
Yeah, not ideal. But I mean, with Blake Snell, I mean it's not even the fact that he hasn't. I wrote about in the injury report this week, but it's not even that he hasn't resumed throwing yet. It's that there's still discomfort. That's the harder part that I think is going to happen here. And then I saw another post on X today that they said that Roki Sasaki is dealing with arm soreness and he might go on the IL. It's like, no wonder, like, honestly, the Dodgers are smart for getting 14 effing starting pitchers because they're going to go through 16 of them. Like, I don't like what I'm hearing about Blake Snell. I'd be very, very worried if I had him, and I do. I'd be very worried.
It's kind of funny, right? Because one of the things that Jim Bowden and I were talking about on Fantasy Alarm was Mike Soroka and how great Soroka was when he was coming up with the Braves. Then he had that shoulder injury, and he was never the same. Never the same. I'm happy to deal with a pitcher with an elbow issue because we know that's fixable, right? Swap out the ligament, you're good to go. Shoulder injuries, totally different story. The fact that Snell is not throwing right now and they're still concerned with the amount of discomfort that he is feeling, I'm with you. I think it's a terrible situation. And yeah, this is why like you said, this is why the Dodgers built their team the way it is. We said it during the preseason. I'd be very surprised to see any Dodgers starter go over 5 innings because Dave Roberts is managing this team to try and stay healthy, not worry about the games in April. So Sasaki, that's, that's, I mean, he was damaged goods. We heard that he was damaged goods when he came to the U.S. Now, obviously, the Dodgers do their due diligence on him, but when this guy turned down elbow surgery, a couple of years ago, you knew it was just a matter of time before this crept back in.
Yep. And now they're contemplating the IL, which the thing that we know with the Dodgers too is that Sells and I called it their phantom IL stints. They'll just throw guys on the IL, basically get the roster spot, and they're not necessarily all that banged up. But with Sasaki, it's interesting. If you actually go over to Baseball Savant and look at his pitch velocity by each start, there's a couple spikes, sure. But I mean, generally, if we're just going to take this one line from left to right, it's generally trending down into the right, which is not a positive. So I'm not honestly surprised that they're at least considering this. Kasperius is probably going to be a guy who turns into a starter. There could be some interesting, strikeouts there for him. But Sasaki, I think an IL stint's probably coming for him. They're just going to throw him on there. Fastball velo is down below 95 for the 3rd time in his last 4 outings on average. So that's not great. And then Blake Snell, I'm going to say TBD. At this point, let's say there's still some discomfort. let's say now with the length of it, let's say he starts throwing in 2 weeks. Let's say it's another 2 weeks to get ramped up, takes 3 rehab assignments. We're already pushing 6 weeks from there, and that might be optimistic in the current situation. So I'm very doom and gloom on Blake Snell right now.
I'm fine with being doom and gloom on him also. If you can stash him on the IL and it doesn't hurt you, then okay, fine. But once you start losing IL spots because it's just getting out of control, that's a problem. I don't like what I'm hearing about Hunter Green, right? I mean, there's a groin injury, and they're talking about the adductor strain that could be in play. They talk about how that screws around with your mechanics. It has, you start overcompensating even in like daily activities. It's not just, it's like a calf injury. When a dude hurts his calf, what does the dude need to do? He needs to be in a boot for 2 weeks, and he needs to stay off his feet. Like, that's it. You shouldn't be doing anything else. That's what your calf needs as far as healing goes. So when you're dealing with this situation here, if this is going to affect certain things, because they say that, when you start to overcompensate because of the pain that you're dealing with, even in the recovery process, and it could screw things up. It screws things up into your shoulder and into your elbow as well. So obviously, the hip bone's connected to the leg bone, and we know that it all kind of carries through. But man, I mean, again, Hunter Green, if you've lost him, I mean, there's nothing coming up. I mean, I would hope and pray that Andrew Abbott continues to develop and be better, because he's a good, solid strikeout pitcher, and I would love to see him succeed a little bit more. Reds are going to need that, man. Losing Hunter Green, that's a big deal. And if you're a fantasy owner, it's even bigger.
Yep. And you're probably looking at about a month. If we just talked about him, but Blake Snell back in 2022, I'm looking at it here, missed about a month, or actually a little over a month with the adductor strain. And then even last year, adductor strain, went to the IL, came back about a month later, made a start or two, and then went on with a groin strain, all on that left side. So yeah, I'd be a little bit worried about Hunter Green too. And it's one of those things where even if he does come back, you're kind of going to hold your breath that first start or two, just to make sure that everything is actually A-okay and everything under the hood there is good.
Nothing's good. Nothing's A-okay, Colby. It's all bad. It's all bad. Shane McClanahan's never coming back.
Yep.
Woodruff's never coming back. Snell's done.
Of all things, too,
Green.
for Woodruff, it's like the shoulder surgery that has had him out for so long. He's on the doorstep to the MLB, knocking to make his debut, and then freaking ankle tendonitis. And then they're like, well, he's gonna have to sit for a little bit, and then we're gonna need another rehab start or two to make sure he's good to go. And it's like, I get it, he's missed so much time, but this is the game we play. We talked about it with like Jonathan Brooks from the season last year. Oh, he'll be back week 4, no harm, no foul, he'll be good to go. Got delayed. Like, there's no such thing. Like, everybody's bodies heal differently. You never know what's going to happen. And as much time as you worried about, I don't think there was anybody in that building that was like, man, all we have to do is avoid ankle tendonitis before Woodruff comes back after this major shoulder surgery. That's going to be the last box that he has to check, is his stupid ankle. And yep, there it is. So now he's delayed another couple of weeks. But hey, you've already missed this much time. What's another week or two for the Brandon Woodruff return to our fantasy teams?
There's a lot. I tell you. I mean, yeah. Shane McClanahan, who's still feeling discomfort also. So I mean, what's another? Let's just bleed it into the second half of the season. Yep. Just can't wait. Can't wait. All right. I don't know if we're just going to keep depressing each other so much with injury talk here. Let's move on to something a little bit more productive. Let's talk about some of the trends that we're seeing going on in fantasy baseball right now. By the time everybody's listening to this, they'll be, midway through their week. They'll start looking towards the waiver wire. They'll start looking at players that they want to, buy, players they want to sell, everything like that. So it always goes with some good trends here. We always try to find out. You used to do the streaks and trends article over at fantasyalarm.com when we had that. So what you got, Colby?
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to take much from this in terms of like maybe trade this guy away, or maybe if you want to look to maybe sell on him, you can. I'm starting to get a little worried about Mookie Betts. Nothing maybe major, because you look, the 6 home runs, 3 stolen bases, actually pacing for a insanely low strikeout rate for his career. He's actually under 10%, which would be the first time in his career. But we've seen it the past couple of years since that big year in 2023. The slugging has dropped every single year. His 399 X slug would be his lowest ever as a Major League Baseball player. So that's something I'm looking at. And then if you start going even deeper into it, you go over to Baseball Savant. His bat speed is trending down the past couple of seasons. His hard hit rate is trending down. The ground balls are up. He's in such an elite offense that his runs and RBIs are going to be fine. But if you go over to his Fangraphs page and you look at like projections the rest of the way, if you take what Steamer has on top of his numbers, we're looking at 27 home runs and 14 stolen bases. Not bad by any means, but it's not the Mookie Betts of 2023. Last year, he had injuries that missed some time, or otherwise his numbers would have looked a lot better. But it's almost we're seeing a little bit of a shift that there's more quantity of contact for Mookie Betts than quality of contact. And his 3 stolen bases right now that he has, we may not see him push much past 15 for the entire season, which would definitely be a little bit of a drain on his value. So I'm not saying that Mookie Betts is toast. I'm not saying that he's fried, but I am saying that there's some interesting trends with his numbers in terms of like his slugging and overall power output that I'm not liking kind of the trend line, the arrows that we're seeing with it.
It's kind of funny. We had this conversation at the start of the season, and I think I brought it up to you here on the podcast that Jim Bowden said that Mookie Betts wasn't a first rounder to him,
Mm-hmm.
that, he noted the decline. Now, we also saw that he wasn't brought, he ended up, being sick and then losing all of that weight and sitting out the Japan series. And then to start the season, it took him a couple of games to kind of get in there, but then you were like, okay, we're fine. But yeah, it has definitely tapered off. Value wise, yeah, it's very, obviously when you're drafting a guy in the first round, you're drafting for the ceiling. You're not drafting for the floor, but you hoped that the floor wasn't so far off from the ceiling for a guy like Mookie Betts. And the fact that he wasn't running as much should have definitely been like a major indicator, in that aspect. So yeah, dude, that's a definite bummer. I don't really have a lot of shares of Mookie. I've got some, but I don't have a lot, and the main league that I have him in, I've got him in it's a head-to-head on Yahoo with my buddy Trace. And I got Mookie there, but I mean, I have him more in line. I think I had a later first round pick and he kind of fell to me. And it's head to head. He's got the versatility of being at second and it's short in the outfield. So it's helpful in that aspect. But yeah, you're right. And you can't plan on the old Mookie Betts production on that front. So, all right, we're talking sadness over injuries and we want to talk trends. And now you're telling me that this first round draft pick sucks. How about, do you have a positive trend, Colby? Something on the good front here? Or are you just all sorts of sad sack with me?
No, I can give you a positive one. I threw one positive in because I figured you wouldn't want me to be being all doom and gloom. But I know Dylan Cease left with the forearm cramp in his last start, but I wouldn't be overly concerned about that. And yes, he's got a 4.91 ERA, would be one of the higher marks of his career. But if you look at his pitch level data, and I wrote it down, but he's throwing his changeup faster than years past, and not just like a mile an hour or two. We're talking like numerous miles per hour faster, and the results have been good. 167 batting average against and a 50% whiff rate on the season with that pitch. And we've seen it a lot with guys that have pitched for many years. You have to reinvent yourself. You have to become a different version. You can't be the same guy in 2021 that you were in 2025 and expect success. Even the most steady workhorses make little subtle tweaks in their pitch grip, their pitch mix, however they do it to have success. And what we're seeing this year is a faster changeup for Dylan Cease. The results have been very, very good. And we know whenever he pitches at home, he's going to be in a very good spot. Just for a frame of reference, in 2024, per Fangraphs, his changeup velocity was about 70 miles an hour. This year, it's up to 77.3, which is closer to where he ended at in Chicago with his changeup. So faster changeup, better results for Dylan Cease thus far. I'm intrigued moving forward.
Well, that would be good because he definitely has looked inconsistent on that front. And I was kind of hoping that he would be, a little bit more. I like the pitcher himself. I think and him being in San Diego was definitely a great spot. I thought, for him to be, has definitely not lived up to it. And it has been, borderline problematic. He's just been too inconsistent. You don't know when to start him. I mean, I've seen him do, look really strong against a great team, and then I've seen him look absolutely atrocious. So he is on the mound tonight for the game that we are during which we're recording here. Again, Robert Suarez couldn't possibly ruin another game for him, could he?
I surely hope not.
I hope not too. All right. Well, I can dig on that. Dylan Cease, faster changeup. I can dig it. Where else do we want to look? Do you have another?
Yeah, this one I'm indifferent on.
Is
Honestly,
this going to help people?
It could.
Uh-oh.
I'm scared to death of it. I don't know. I'll tell you. I'll lay out both sides of it. I don't know what to really make of this. But you got Logan O'Hoppe, who's pacing for the outside of his 5-game cup of coffee in 2022. He's pacing for the best batting average of his career, best slug of his career, WOBA, all the numbers across the board, all with the lowest walk rate and highest strikeout rate of his career. Like, you don't see many guys add 20 points to their batting average when dropping their walk rate by nearly 2% and the strikeout rate jumps up 5%. Like, you're not going to do anything with O'Hoppe. You're not dropping him, obviously, because he does have the 9 home runs, and the 264 average from behind the dish is awesome. But how long can this 333 BABIP prop up his batting average if he's going to strike out over a third of the time? But what's interesting is a lot of times when you see these strikeout rates, it's as simple as, oh, well, he's leaving the zone 5 more, his percentage points 5 points higher, or there's more swing and miss. But you look at the plate discipline metrics, there's nothing there that jumps off the page. In fact, compared to last year, the swinging strike rate on par but slightly down, he's shaved percentage points off. The O swing rate, his zone contact is only a couple points down, and his overall contact rate is on par with years past. So it's like, I don't know what to make of Logan O'Hoppe. The power's been good. The batting average has been great, but that 34.1 strikeout rate is going to win out over that 333 BABIP at some point, and that batting average is coming down. I think that's the only thing I know for sure. But other than that, my God, the exit velocity is awesome. The hard hit rate is awesome. It's just how high of an average can he actually hit for when striking out a third of the time? That's my big question.
Well, I mean, listen, I think that's what you're looking for from O'Hoppe. If you drafted O'Hoppe, I mean, look at him. He had 244 last year. He had 236 the year before that. You're kind of banking on very similar batting average numbers. So, it is nice. And yeah, I agree with you. Unless he cuts down on the strikeouts and he puts numbers together that are a little closer to last year, right? Increase the walk rate just a little bit, lower the strikeout rate a little bit. Yeah, you're going to lose some batting average points there, but can you just lose 20 batting average points and not 40 batting average points? If you're getting the power from O'Hoppe, that's really, that's why you drafted him. You didn't draft him to help you in the batting average realm. You drafted him because he's a 20 home run bat and he's not costing you a high draft pick. So, I think we're good there. It should be very interesting to see what he does, where the give is. Cause yeah, I agree with you. The BABIP will drop down. I mean, he had a 318 BABIP last year. So it's not like 333 is so crazy outlandish for him, right? Like, I mean, if it pulls back a little bit, it pulls back a little bit. I'd be more concerned if he was hitting 264 with like a 385 BABIP.
Sure.
Then I'd be like, nope, there's zero chance that this happens. So I think we're still waiting for some of that to connect with Logan O'Hoppe, but I'm not too worried about him.
Yeah,
but I do know that there are lots of players who we are worried about.
Yeah, I mean,
there are a lot. There are some names that I'm with you. I don't know what to do. Throw my hands up. Matt McLain is the first name that comes to mind for me. I mean, batting 165, 10 stolen bases, 5 home runs. That's great, right? I'll take 5 and 10 from him on that front. 165. I mean, again, I'm not asking you to hit 300. I would touch myself inappropriately if you did. But I'll take 260 for crying out loud. I can't take 165. This one's killing me because I have a lot of McLain because I knew I was going to be able to move him over to second base.
Yep.
So I went cheapy at second base, and I was just going to slide McLain over there, and that's like a dumpster fire now.
Yeah, I mean, for him, the 214 BABIP is bad, but he's striking out over 31% of the time, which.
Ugh.
isn't ideal for him. At the saving grace is that the counting stats are there when the other production hasn't. So maybe as things kind of turn around and things kind of pick back up for him, like the counting stats will only get better. But I mean, even you look at it, it's only a 202 expected batting average. Even if the BABIP comes back up, like are we looking at a Zach Geloff-esque 2025, basically for McLain, where he's going to hit 210, 211, or 210, 220, be pretty solid in this home run stolen base department, but with just a really bad batting average at second base? Like that kind of feels like where we're heading.
Would it be ironic if I told you that on that FSGA team that's just crapping the bed so bad that Matt McLain is my starting second baseman, that Zach Geloff is on my IL right now? I'm ready to put him back in.
Misery loves company.
Say goodbye to the batting.
It's the Spider-Man meme. It's the They're the same guy. 2024 Geloff and 2025 Matt McLain are the same person.
So bad. What about you? Who's on your worry meter right now? Who's freaking you out?
Oh, I mean, who isn't? Oh, I can rapid fire through some. Like Max Muncy's been horrible. Him and Michael Conforto have sucked. And I'm looking at it here. There are only 11 qualified hitters with one or fewer home runs, and Max Muncy is one of those guys. You're supposed to get power from him. We're not getting anything. You have Jordan Walker, who the only thing that we thought he's going to do is hit for average. You can't even do that right now. His strikeout rate is up near 32%. But a bigger name, I'll jump to it here. I'm a little concerned. I'm not overly concerned yet, but I'm watching Paul Skeens' pitch velocity.
Oh,
that's all I'm saying. I'm not going to go any more than that. I'm not going to put it out there, but let's just keep an eye on it. That's all I'm going to say.
Doctor, it hurts when I go like this.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Could be something, could be nothing, but I'm just throwing it out there.
Is a velocity thing, is that more shoulder than it is? I mean, come on, you're the ex-ball player here, dude. Does velocity issue worry you more about the shoulder or the elbow? Especially when you're not hearing that there's forearm tightness or anything like that.
Yeah, not hearing anything with him, so it's kind of hard to say. I know when back in my heyday doing like some velocity training to like increase arm strength, there was a lot more emphasis on shoulder stabilization, and especially like on the follow through to be able to like decelerate everything. So potentially there could be something involved there for him. I mean, there's no reports about it. There's like, he hasn't said anything about it. It's more so just like, hey, I'm looking at what the numbers are telling me. They're slightly down. And then when you look at him too, like the walk rate's picked up a little bit for him in recent starts. So that's another thing that we're kind of concerned. So I would only be overly concerned because Skeens was like a first or second round draft pick that you banked your entire fantasy rotation on. So maybe that is overemphasizing maybe some concern I have. But yeah, I mean, like I said, nothing's been reported. This is just purely me looking at the numbers and seeing like, I'm keeping an eye on it, keeping close tabs.
Well, shout out to Paul Skeens, my ace in Labor NL. So wouldn't that just be the icing on the cake? That is not chocolate. That is a turd cake served straight up. That is not icing. That is exactly what you think it is.
Yep.
And that's not something I want to eat right now. Thanks a lot, Colby Conway. Thanks.
That's what I'm here for.
Really, right? Debbie Downer over here. You know what? I don't even want to talk to you anymore because I'm so sad. I'm so depressed right now. And that's how we're going to send off everybody, right? Into the sad world. Read Colby's sad sack injury report. Read James Grande's even more depressing waiver wire article. Check with me, Colby, and John Impemba, sadly, doing the starting pitcher grid every day over at Fantasy Alarm. But I'm not even going to give you a final word here, Colby, or a lasting thought because you've just made everybody super sad, including me. So to you out there, well, we thank you for listening. Try not to be too depressed. Good luck with fixing your teams. I'll keep you posted on what I do with mine. Colby's in the tank. We say goodnight to him. We say goodnight to all of you. Thanks so much for tuning in to Caught Stealing. We'll be back next week. Maybe, if Colby hasn't depressed us too much. Catch you next time.